for the people of Bastogne. Der Führer had had enough of the American resistance in the encircled town and was preparing the outlying areas for a final ground assault to break the resistance and capture Bastogne. Civilian targets would be hit indiscriminately, and numerous Bastogne citizens would be killed on this Christmas Eve, buried in the rubble of their homes and shops. Collateral damage was not Hitler's concern, but to him it was a fitting byproduct for their support for the Allies. Unteroffizier, non-commissioned officer Karl-Heinz Struze was the bombardier for one of the Pathfinder Ju-88s that night. His Ju-88, tail number Z6FH, was part of the lead team of 6 aircraft. Their mission was to mark a target, which was the town of Bastogne on Christmas Eve, so that another team of bombers could release their payload accurately. As they approached their target, homing in on a radio transmission known as Y-beam, Struze stared through both the aircraft's perspex nose and targeting reticule to precisely target his deadly payload, and then, instead of dropping bombs, he released bright magnesium flares to illuminate the target. Bomber Z6FH had a young but experienced crew. At 22 years old, Struze was the oldest crew member on a team of 3. His pilot, Lieutenant Peter Schultz, was the youngest at 20, while the radio operator Unteroffizier Karl-Heinz Oldenburg was in the middle at 21. These men had started their careers in KG-66 in May 1944, when it had become operational as part of a Pathfinder unit to mark targets over England. Before arriving in France, the crew had been part of Staffel 4 of KG-54 and had flown 7 missions in Italy. Now, as part of KG-66, they had already flown 10 missions over England. After the disaster at Normandy, the crew had abandoned their base at Montdidier and eventually established themselves in the town of Dedelsdorf. For most of the summer and fall, the crew had languished. Finally, on the 4th of December 1944, they conducted their first mission in months, a weather reconnaissance operation over the North Sea near the Thames estuary. After beginning with 12 aircraft, their Staffel now numbered only 9. Several days after making a weather reconnaissance mission over the North Sea, the crew of bomber Z6FH had received the news that Hitler was planning a major winter offensive to steal the initiative from the Allies on the Western Front. This had rekindled morale among the crew, and now they were going to fly night operations against tactical targets just as the older pilots had done during the heady days of 1940 and 1941. The pilots and crews were excited to once again be involved in a major offensive against the enemy. Despite the obvious dangers, the Luftwaffe bombing crews were highly motivated to participate in Wacht am Rhein. Allied daytime and nighttime bombings had battered and wrecked their country. The once proud cities of the Reich now lay in ruins as British and American bombs destroyed the resplendent landscapes. Berlin, Düsseldorf, Hamburg, and many other German cities all lay in rubble. In the eyes of many German soldiers and pilots, the Americans and the British were violating the laws of war as they targeted innocent civilians, and now the Germans were given an opportunity to even the score. Major Schmidt, the commander of KG-66, had delivered the orders to the Staffel 1 and its commander, Oberstleutnant First Lieutenant Piotta. The operations officer, Oberstleutnant Herberstreit, then typed up the mission. The mission would take place on Christmas Eve, and their target was a crossroads town in Belgium where the Wehrmacht armed forces had surrounded a lone American division currently defending Bastogne. 12 Ju-88s left the aerodrome at Dedelsdorf and headed west. The sun had already slipped below the horizon as the aircraft assembled into an echeloned formation. When they had completed the mustering, the 6 Pathfinder Ju-88s flew ahead. Struze looked out over the horizon as he tracked his bomber's progress.